Hey, I'm Jeff with Polar Pro, and our new Mavic 3 Pro filters are available for pre-order now. We designed each of these filters to be perfectly compatible with the new 3 lenses on the Mavic 3 Pro, and we're super stoked to show you what we've got. So the 2 new tele cameras on here are insane. The 3X and the 7X just give you this gnarly parallax and lens compression that I've never seen since the Inspire 2 is out with the interchangeable lenses. So it's really cool to have that now available in this platform. And we really took that all into consideration when designing these ND and CP filters. The 24mm lens, the main lens, is pretty similar to everything else DJI has ever made. And that's the widest field of view. And that one's gonna let in the most amount of light. So we really actually needed to kind of build our ND filters around that one to make sure that that one had full coverage. When you're shooting with that lens, like sunrise, sunset, it needs about a 3-stop reduction, so an ND8, to get shutter speed down to 1/60th if you're shooting at 2.8 aperture. Or like bright midday, you're kind of looking around 5 stops to get that down to 1/60th. So that's why in the 3 packs, you're gonna see an ND8, an ND16, and an ND32, which is gonna give you full solid coverage for that main 24mm lens. And the next 2 lenses are those crazy tele ones, the 3X and the 7X. At first, I was a little skeptical. I thought that 7X would, the footage would be a little suspect, but it's actually insane. The quality on it's really good, and it's awesome to get the drone up there and can get this like crazy parallax with moving around subjects, and then also that lens compression, which really brings that foreground in closer. But for those 2 lenses, it's definitely letting in less light than the 24mm, so you don't need as much ND coverage on them, but it's not enough to change the amount of stop value we put in each of those little glass elements there. So we did just give it 1 full coat at the same. And if you do have any variances in exposure, particularly in the 7X, that like 166mm equivalent, that's when all you're gonna wanna do is just bump ISO from 100 to 200 to get that exposure value change. It's not really worth it. We weren't seeing too many instances where you were gonna need a different ND filter for each specific lens. 1 filter across everything works perfectly. And back to the 24mm lens. Now, on really, really bright days, if you're shooting at like 12 or 1 o'clock, just when the sun's raging, you might need 6 stops to actually get shutter down to 1/60th. So we have 2 options for you. One option is you can just take your aperture and move it from 2.8 to 4.5, and that'll take care of that last little stop of exposure. Or if you really want to leave it at f2.8, you can, and we have a VND 3 to 6 filter that's going to cover that last 6th stop. All right, so let's head on over to the computer and I'll show you the 4 options that we've got available for pre-order right now. All right, here we go. Now I gotta plug it in. All right, so we have 4 different options for the filters. We have the Shutter collection, which is the collection of NDs. It's got the ND8, the ND16, and the ND32, 3 to 5 stop. And this one's got the design where it's 3 different glass elements to cover the 3 different filters, but they're all the same filter. It's just a slightly different design than what you'll see later. And these are just straight ND, so that means it's only gonna reduce light. It's not gonna change color. It's not gonna reduce any reflections. It's just a straight ND when you're only trying to reduce shutter speed. And we got the filter types laser etched right on the bottom there, so you can see exactly what filter you have when they're all inside the case like that. And the second filter option we have is the Vivid collection, which is the group of ND-PL filters. So that's neutral density plus a polarizer. And that's gonna have the ND8 PL, the ND16 PL, and the ND32 PL. And this one you can see is designed a little bit different. It's got 1 glass element that's gonna cover all 3 of the camera lenses, and that's just gonna allow it to rotate so you can change the level of polarization. So the ND-PLs are definitely our most popular filter, and that's because the polarizing element reduces reflections. And when you're shooting from high to low, you do get a lot of reflection off the ground in different various subjects. So when you reduce that reflected light, it leaves behind the truer color of whatever you're shooting. So it's just gonna give you more color saturation, which in turn can increase contrast and make your stuff really pop, whether it's photo or video. And each of these filters has a little white laser etched polarization indicator here. And when that's at the top of the filter, that's gonna give you the broadest polarization setting for any direction. And the third filter we have available for the Mavic 3 Pro is the circular polarizer. And this one's really good for like photography because it's gonna allow the most light to pass through to the sensor. It only reduces light by about 1 stop, but it's gonna give you all the benefits of the polarization, which is reducing light, reflecting off of surfaces, giving you more color saturation, more contrast, and just allowing your photos to really pop. This filter has the same design as the NdPl filters, where you have one glass element that'll rotate across all 3 of the lenses. There's a little polarization indicator laser etched there. It's that little white dot. And when it's at the top of the filter, that's gonna give you the broadest kind of general polarization setting while you're shooting. So the good news is that all 3 of these camera lenses, they're all on the same plane. So that means it's gonna be the same polarization setting for all 3 of them. So you'll set the polarization to however you want it. And then once you send the drone up and you're flying, you can switch between the 3 lenses and it's all gonna be the same exact polarization setting. And the fourth filter we have available for the Mavic 3 Pro is the cheat code filter, the VND 3-6. And that's a variable neutral density filter that's gonna range from a 3-stop all the way up to a 6-stop. And you can change the level of ND by just rotating the filter here. And that's gonna give you the coverage you need to get shutter at 1/60th, all the way from sunrise through midday, all the way through sunset. The filter is gonna only rotate about 90 degrees. So traditionally with VNDs, they spin all the way around, but if you spin them too far, you're gonna see like an X pattern in your video. That's called cross polarization. So we actually limit the amount that you can rotate it so it stops before you get into the danger zone. So these 4 filters are available for pre-order right now and they ship June 30th. If you have any questions, shoot us an email, support@polarpro.com. We'll see you on the next one.